You a millionaire?
Oh, 2 times.
Are you a big spender? Do you spend a
Yeah.
lot of money?
Yeah, I'm stopping now. Yeah, I got too many cars. I got 6 cars, 3 of them Rolls Royces, which I don't need. And you come up and pour, and you get something, and I find all of them tell me this, and you go out just to say I had it. You really don't need it. The newness wears off. You're stuck with it. You can't sell it. It depreciates. So I'm just saving money now. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. Blueprints for 6 more children, and we want to save all I can. So all I'm doing now every month is saving at least 75% of my money for the future of my children, putting it away for 15 years. I don't want to touch it. I don't
Make
need
this
it.
really, really quick. But today is November 15th. This is Wednesday. And as you can see by the news, the Dow just added more than 150 points to clinch fourth winning day. So we've had 4 winning days in a row. Mostly it's been fueled by the tech sector. I'm going to just show you a couple examples of that. They call these stocks the Magnificent Seven. Now, the Magnificent Seven is Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Facebook, I believe. They call Facebook Meta because, they changed the name. Me personally, I do not invest in Facebook. I refuse to give Mark Zuckerberg a dime of my money. And it's just that's just what it is. Now, I have family members who bought into Facebook at $50 a share. And they're sitting on some very, very nice gains. What Facebook I sold, and when they rechanged the name to Meta, I just didn't buy anymore. And I really don't care. I've made more money using my personal index Mangoat, which is Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, oil stocks that pay dividends, and Tesla. So I've made more money in that area. And what's amazing to me is the wild swings. So, for example, you can see right here, you can see this is the 3-month, but if I just show, I wonder if I could show year to date right here. But, okay, year to date right there, right? So this year, starting from January, as you can see, this is Microsoft. Now, I was telling you that I had planned on investing in my own index, and I told you that probably 3 years ago. And it's been going very well. Like before, I was already invested in it. It's just that I didn't focus on certain stocks until I realized that the tech sector was going to do so well thanks to COVID. COVID had people locked up inside their house, and then they had to go out and buy laptops and so forth and so on. Everything went up. Logitech, AMD, everything. Basically, everything went up. The crash came when Russia invaded Ukraine. And that was pretty much the first crash. There were a couple of other micro crashes, but what that did for me was that pushed the price of oil through the roof. Now, recently, oil prices have receded slightly, which I expected because this is winter. During winter, we use a different fuel blend, and we don't use as much nitrous oxide cancelers. So during the summer, we use more nitrous oxide cancelers in the fuel blend. So that actually drives up the cost of fuel for the summer. And that's always typically been what it is. They had tried canceling gas taxes a couple of times, and all that did was add more debt. But these Democrats aren't worried about how much debt they're adding. In fact, they're passing laws now that are saying that people can live in a person's house for up to a year without paying rent. All they have to do is petition a judge to let them stay for a year. So basically, they are becoming so anti-business. It's just amazing. But that's another story for another time. I'll talk about that later. But as you can see, Apple is, year to date, it's not at its high for the year. It was at $196. But right now, it is quickly approaching that. It's at $187. I'm thinking that as we move towards the Christmas season, you'll have more people purchasing iPhones, more people purchasing Apple Watches, so forth and so on. So I'm not sure where it'll be, but I'm not worried about it because, as you know, Apple pays a dividend. They have a yield of 0.51 for every share. Now, Apple's gone through a stock split already, and I benefited from that. It's gone through 2 stock splits since I've been in it since before 2015. So the thing about it is I'm doing pretty well. I have a lot of shares, and I get a lot of dividends out of it. Google, Amazon looks like it's down, but I'm not really worried about that. Google, as you can see, does not pay a dividend. Google's the kind of stock that you probably play options with. Amazon does pay a 1%, 1.04% yield, so I hold on to my Amazon stock. Then you have Tesla. Tesla has started paying a 1.83% dividend, so they have a yield there. So that's actually really, really nice for those of you who bought into Tesla and you got in before the splits. So they have a 1.83% dividend. So as it stands, my personal index, Microsoft pays a dividend. As you can see, NVIDIA has been making lots of top headlines. I'll talk about NVIDIA in a minute. NVIDIA pays a 0.03% yield. I don't know if that'll go up, because one thing you have to understand, some stocks that don't pay dividends, sometimes they actually do start paying dividends, just like Ford did. And sometimes you have them paying a dividend and then they raise the price of the dividend. When Ford started paying the dividend recently, it was only 2%. But as you can see right now, it's 5.77. So just because a company is not paying a dividend, you can't always be 100% certain that they won't end up paying a dividend in the future. A lot of these companies, they start paying dividends so that they can get more people to want to invest in the stock. The other thing is, when they do stock splits, that's another possibility when they want to try to get more people to invest into the stock, because they know that stock splits make news. People read the headlines, people get interested, they get excited, and then they want to buy in. As you can see, Amazon has been doing very well. Now, as you know, I never stopped saying it. I kept telling you about Amazon and Logitech at the same time back when they were $50 a share. Since January, they've been at $64, and at this point, they have gone up to $118. They were slightly higher at $129 for the year, but the 52-week high, and you have to remember, because of the fact that China and America were threatening each other over Taiwan, that caused the prices of a lot of the chip stocks to actually dip. When I saw them dipping, I was like, yeah, this is, you should definitely be in them. So I made a video. I said, bet on the chips. NVIDIA was one of the main things I told you about. Just like I was telling you about Micron. I kept telling you over and over and over. Micron. Micron pays a 0.6% yield on every share that you have. I was telling you about Micron back before $50. Now, I know some people bought it before it was $10. But I was telling you when I felt that, it was going places. And the reason why I said Micron, they are building a factory in upstate New York. I believe it's Troy, New York. America wants to, how should I say, they want to capitalize on chip manufacturing, and they are afraid of what might happen if China ever took over Taiwan. Taiwan right now is producing more than 90% of the chips in the world. This is one of the reasons why you saw Nancy Pelosi run over there. This is the reason why you're hearing all these things about her insider trading. This is one of the reasons why you keep hearing them talking about China. If it wasn't for Taiwan and their chip production, America wouldn't give a damn about Taiwan. They wouldn't even be talking about them. But they're talking about them big time, because they know that if China were to take over Taiwan, that would give China majority power over all the chips being manufactured, and everybody else will be asked out. So it looks like ever since COVID, some of these countries have reevaluated like who's making their PPE and who's making their critical components. Because you got to understand, these chips are in everything, especially when it comes to war. You see Russia versus Ukraine, when they were running out of chips for their missile guidance systems, they had to go and tear apart refrigerators. They had to take the chips out of anything they could get them out of and then reprogram them. So the bottom line is these chips are, they're everything. It's like there are thousands of them in cars. There's so many sensors. There's so many modules. It's like these things are everywhere. You have to have them. They're in everything, especially smartphones, smartwatches, everything. Anything you can think of, they got it in there. So Taiwan Semiconductor is still slightly under $100. I still think it's undervalued. So as you can see, year to date, it's been over, the 52-week high was 110. who else did I want to mention? Okay, GM and Ford are still at a buy price because GM was more expensive, but right now, partially because of that UAW strike, GM, Ford, and Stellantis are all down. So if you didn't have any shares of those, chances are you probably want to get in on those. As you can see, GM pays a 9.48% dividend. You have Ford paying you 5.77. Then you have Stellantis paying you 7.32. Now, like, some people don't understand. They're like, why should I care? Like, why should I be buying dividend stock? And you have to understand, it's like for every share that you own, you're getting a small percent back, whatever that share's dividend yield is, right? Now, you're not just buying one or two shares. You may be buying tens of shares or hundreds of shares, and that money adds up. Your money is just sitting there as an investment in the company. And when that appreciates, you may choose to sell it, or you may choose to just hold on to it and just keep collecting the dividends. But if you have enough money in dividend paying stock, it's like whether the market goes up or down, it really doesn't matter to you as long as you keep getting your dividend because you're still getting a check out of this. This is the big difference between stock and crypto or, say, Bitcoin. They do not pay a dividend. And don't let anybody lie to you and try to talk to you about staking crypto and all that bullshit. Alex Mashinsky tried that nonsense with Celsius, and he was promising a 10% return. Then they ended up locking his ass up when they found out he was running an illegal Ponzi scheme. So I'm telling you, it's a sure thing. Yeah, it may not be sexy, it may not be as exciting, but what do you want? Do you want sexy and exciting and then lose all your goddamn money to Sam Bankman-Fried and Alex Mashinsky? Or do you want a slow but steady wins the race sure thing? Because dividend stocks are a sure thing. When your money's in there, you're getting a check back in dividends. Now, it may not be a huge check, but over time and with dividend reinvestment, when you get those dividend checks, you don't take that money and spend it. Like, for example, I'll tell you, out of my dividends, right, if per year I was to get, what, $2,000 or $3,000 back, you think I'm going to take that money and just burn it and spend it? No. You take that money and you buy more stock. So that's what I've been doing. When I was getting my YouTube money, every single month on the 21st, we get paid from YouTube. Take that YouTube money, put that YouTube money into stock. Dividend paying stock, every single year, you're getting dividend repayments back. Now, people who are already in this already know what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of you who don't know what I'm talking about because you're not in it. So what I'm telling you is, it's a surefire thing. It's almost like you have to think of it as a glorified savings account for your money. You're putting your money in and you're letting your money sit there in these stocks. And as long as they keep paying a dividend, you know that that stock is doing something. Now, how long will it take for that stock to get big and blow up? We don't know. Look at NVIDIA. It took years of NVIDIA making chips and GPUs. It took years. But all of a sudden, now they're the talk of the town. You don't know who's going to blow up. You just don't know. But if you're in it, when they blow up, if they blow up, you're going to win. Not only that, but you diversify. So you don't just buy all just like one thing. You buy multiple different sectors. Energy, electronics, consumer appliance, whatever. It's like whatever you're buying, you buy different sectors. And if and when something blows up, market goes up, market goes down, you're still getting your dividends and you ain't got nothing to worry about. Your money is still there and you're still getting your dividend checks every single year. But see, some people don't. This is the reason why, like, they keep on saying, like, I was just watching Stephen Graham. They talk, oh, the rich get rich and the poor get poor. Yeah, there's three things that the rich do that the poor don't do. Number one, the rich, for the most part, try to maintain stable families and they pass wealth down intergenerationally using real estate. Poor people don't typically do that. Poor people got baby mamas. Poor people renting apartments, not getting anything out of it, no equity. And that's it. They don't pass anything down because they ain't got nothing to pass down. The other thing they don't do, rich people don't spend up all their money. Poor people spend a lot of money. They waste a lot of money. They don't save. Rich people spend less and save more. Then on top of that, rich people buy appreciating assets or assets that pay them dividends. And I mentioned this before in another video not too long ago. One thing you got to understand is gold and silver, those things are not good investments. They are absolutely not. What they are in hedges against inflation. Now, they aren't even very good hedges against inflation, and I can prove it. If you compare the performance of gold over the last 30 years to the performance of the S&P 500 or even the Dow over the last 30 years, you would clearly see that investing in dividend-paying stock, you would have done way better than you would have investing in gold. Gold right now is desperate just to hold that $2,000 mark, and it can't even seem to hold that. It's 1963. Meanwhile, it does nothing. Gold doesn't pay a dividend. Same thing goes for crypto. Crypto doesn't pay a dividend. Silver doesn't pay a dividend. Oil pays a dividend. Like when you have the oil stocks, like I've told you about, oil pays dividends just like this one. Okay, this one, the yield has gone down because it actually used to be higher. But when you look at the other oil stocks like SLCA and SM, those were two of my biggest winners during COVID. This right here is a list of my biggest winners during COVID. SM, SLCA, TTI, CPE. I bought SM and SLCA for less than $2. And they both, because of Russia versus Ukraine, they both rose up. SM went to like 55, and SLCA, what was SLCA's high over the 2 years? Yeah, SLCA rose from $2 to $20. I bought these things during COVID when they were dirt cheap because it was less than $2, but they still managed to maintain their dividend. And then they blew up when Russia blew up Ukraine. So who could have predicted that we would have had COVID? Nobody. Who could have predicted we would have had a quarantine? Nobody. Who could have predicted Russia would invade Ukraine and send gas prices skyrocketing? Nobody. Who could have predicted that Israel would invade Palestine and blow up Gaza, and that would send oil prices spiking? Nobody would have predicted that 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody could have predicted that. So what I'm saying is you got to be in it, and you just got to hold. You just got to put some money in there, and you just have to wait. Yeah, that's the same logic behind like Bitcoin and what is those things? Those meme stocks where, they're, AMC and G. Yeah, it's the same logic, but the difference is these things are paying dividends. So when they're paying dividends, that tells you that you're in a profitable company. So even like TTI, look at this shit. The dividend yield on this is 21.57% of every single share. 21.57. $4.7 right now. It's $4.70 year to date. Look at that. That's the oil spike that you see because of Israel versus Palestine. You see that oil spike right after September. Nobody can predict this shit. Nobody. But as long as you're getting dividends, you got to understand, if you put enough money in, you're easily going to get about $500 to $1,000 back every single year just for your money sitting there. If your money's in a bank account, you're not getting that much money in interest. Right now, one of my bank accounts, I've got over $50,000 sitting in that bank account. And when the interest comes back, it's like less than like $1.50. It's not that much. It's not a lot of interest. It's like even with the 4.15% I'm getting from Apple Pay, it's not that much interest. But when you're talking about all of these stock shares that I have in many different sectors, and you're getting money back from that, and you've got crazy ass yields like 21% for this TTI, and you've got something else for something else, and something else for this, and something else for that, all of that adds up. So that's the bottom line. I mean, this is like free game. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, if you want to keep putting your, I know a person who goes into a corner store every single morning and buys a $20 lottery ticket. hasn't hit fucking, what is it, Mega Million, hasn't hit none of those jackpots, but goes in every day and drops $20 on a lotto ticket. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, if I was spending the kind of money that this dude is spending on lotto tickets, because you think about it, that's $20 a day. He's spending $100 a week at least. And that's assuming he's not playing the more expensive games on the weekends. If I had that kind of money to just drop on lotto tickets, I'd be putting that money into stock and doing better than he's doing. I'd have a return. Now, you could argue that if he hits the lotto jackpot, yeah, maybe it'll make him a multimillionaire. But his chances of becoming a multimillionaire by hitting that lotto jackpot are so low that he actually has a better chance of getting struck by lightning 3 times on the same day than he does of being a jackpot winner. It just is what it is. They tell you that when you look up the probability. They literally tell you that. So that's what I wanted to focus on. We're basically seeing something right now. There's a fear that there's going to be a reverse, what do they call it? A reverse market crash. So the problem is some people are saying and trying to convince themselves that the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest rates. Let me tell you something right now. They're not going to lower interest rates. The closest you get to lowering is a pause. They have to make interest rates go up, and there's a simple reason for that. If they lower interest rates, what you're going to end up getting is a reverse market crash. The problem that we're seeing right now is most of these houses, the banks are losing money on most of these houses. The reason why is because everybody refinanced to 3% or better during COVID. Everybody who could. I know people with shit credit, and they were still able to refinance to a 3% during COVID because the banks were just anxious to make as many new refinance loans as they could. So now that the interest rates started going up, because you got to remember, they were doing this back in 2020 and 2021. They didn't know that we were going to end up with proxy wars such as, Russia versus Ukraine. Once Russia versus Ukraine started, that's when you saw Jerome Powell raising the interest rates, right? Part of it is economic warfare against Russia. So nobody could have expected that. Once they started raising interest rates, now what happens is all of those houses that you put down to a 3% by your refinance, all of those houses, you're now losing money on those houses. If the interest rates right now for a 30-year fixed are 8%, but you've got somebody like me, some schlub like me, paying a 3%, you're losing money on me. You'll be lucky to break even on the next guy, but you're losing money. You're absolutely losing money on me. People like me, I ain't selling. Let me tell you, I always say, I'm so thankful to be able to look up, and I'm looking at my ceiling fan up there, right? Let me tell you something. Another thing I'm thankful for, I can walk into my own house. There ain't no bitch in here running nothing. There's nobody else's name on no title, no deed, nobody else's name on it but mine. I can do that with my other house. I can walk in there anytime I feel like it. I can say, hey, tenants, how y'all doing? Make sure y'all got my check ready for me. And I can just walk out. They can't even stop me from walking in there. But the bottom line is, I'm really thankful for that. I got people asking me all the time, oh, are you renting? Are you renting any rooms? I'm like, no, I'm not renting shit. The only people I got renting are my tenants. I'm not, like, when they see me and I'm walking in and out of my house, and I'm the only person walking in my house, because you got to understand, in New York, a lot of people have to rent their houses. They got to rent the basement. They got to rent the upstairs or something just to be able to make ends meet. It's like I don't have to rent to anybody. I'm in here alone. My computer got its own room. My couch got its own room. It's like I don't have to rent to nobody. I got people asking me that shit all the time because they see me and they're like, wait a minute. How can you afford to live alone? And I'm like, because I got it like that. Some of these people think I'm a drug dealer. I'll just say it just like that. Some of these people think I'm a drug dealer. I'm not. But I'm just saying, some of these people think that because they can't understand it. They're like, wait a minute, this guy's driving these fucking nice cars and he's living alone? How the fuck is he doing that? And they can't figure it out. But bottom line is, I'm thankful for that. I got my lower than 3% and did it at a perfect time. I had members in my family refinance lower than 3%. 3% one person, lower than 3% another. It's like we're set. We're so set. It's like these houses are assets at this point. The problem is a reversed market crash would mean that if they lower interest rates, now more people are going to be in the demand for a house. Because right now people are getting turned away because people are applying and their credit sucks, or people are applying and the house is so expensive that they can't get the loan for it, right? So the problem is if you lower the interest rates, all of a sudden now that means more people can qualify. But if more people can qualify, that means the demand is going up. So if the demand is going up and the supply is still low, then a lot of these people would be in the market for houses that they'll never be able to get because there's so many other people competing for that same house. You don't want to see a reverse market crash. Basically, it's akin to hyperinflation. The cost of these houses will skyrocket. Like they'll go up even higher than they are. They're not. The housing price is not going to crash anytime soon. These houses are all at 3% mostly, or lower. The value of these houses is not crashing anytime soon. If they lower interest rates, these house prices will go up, and if they go up, the housing market will be even worse than it is now. I think Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve understand that they've basically killed the housing market for the time being. The only thing they can really hurt now is credit card expenses and auto markets. A lot of these car manufacturers are giving out all these special lease deals because they're trying to move these cars. They don't want these cars sitting on their lots. They want to move these cars because they need to make space for more cars. That's how they keep people at work without having to furlough them. And that's how they keep people at work without having to lay them off. far as these chip manufacturers, one of the reasons why you saw Nvidia doing so well this week is because Nvidia is launching a brand new artificial intelligence super chip. So basically, they're connecting this thing to 141 gigabytes of high speed memory, right? So Nvidia is tripling down on artificial intelligence. So as you've seen, because I've been posting lots of pictures about artificial intelligence, everybody's getting in on artificial intelligence. You've seen today there was a rally in NVIDIA, there's a rally in Intel, there's rallies in AMD, all this week, even Micron. Everybody who's making silicon computer chips, there's been rallies all throughout the market for them. We have no idea how high this is going to go. Artificial intelligence, as you've seen with these memes that I've been posting, artificial intelligence is rendering cartoons and memes in seconds. Things that it would take a real artist like hours and hours to draw. These computers are doing it in seconds, just seconds. You type in what you want to see and it just shows you what you asked for. It's just amazing. And then it does it in a way that you couldn't even imagine it being done, because you have no idea what it's going to spit out. So you could you could literally make a comic strip based on AI images. So NVIDIA, and it's funny, I guess it was short-sighted of me, because I remember I used to say that NVIDIA invented RTX ray tracing, and that was something that we didn't want. Like what people who are gamers on the PC wanted, they wanted faster frame rates, especially for the competitive crowd. They didn't really want ray tracing. As far as I'm concerned, we already had technology to create better shadows and better transparency effects. We had already had that. But see, NVIDIA decided that what they were going to do was they were going to create these tensor cores and these neural networks, because they were focused on creating AI. And instead of just giving us what we wanted, they decided to change the entire benchmark. So now the benchmark is about their AI, and they have numerous AI technologies. For one, you have DLSS, you've got ray tracing. They also have artificial intelligence for sound, where you can clean up sounds. Because you got to understand, this artificial intelligence, like I'm starting to really see that they're coming up with uses for artificial intelligence, things I never would have thought of. For example, they can make laptops with artificial intelligence that has the ability to upscale 720p to 1080p. And that's now. Very soon, they'll be upscaling 1080p to 4K, and they'll be doing it using artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can output anything it wants to output. And it's hard to understand, but you have to almost use your imagination. It can change, like, for instance, my voice. Artificial intelligence can take my voice and it can change it and make me sound like a woman. Artificial intelligence can take everything that I'm saying right now and automatically translate to Spanish or to Chinese or to Japanese. I mean, the technology that they've got with this artificial intelligence shit, you can't even imagine where this is going to be 2 years from now. Like they're even showing these Google phones, and they're showing these auto translators that have the ability to do auto translations, just like on Star Trek and everything. Well, all that is basically like the speaker hears it, the computer listens to it, and the computer translates it, and then it sends it to your earpiece. So whatever this person's saying, you hear something totally different. So if they're speaking in French, you hear it in English. That's like crazy. It's like basically all the stuff you see in sci-fi. So bottom line is this. Don't let them fool you about the artificial intelligence bubble. NVIDIA is serious about this. They are going to keep creating this advanced tensor technology. They're going to keep doing it. They're making these computers faster and more powerful. And on the other front, when it comes to gaming, you also have AMD, which I kept telling you about. AMD is getting serious about artificial intelligence too. Now, right now, NVIDIA is at the head of the line. NVIDIA right now is second to none. AMD wants in on that. So if AMD wants in on that, they're going to push their way into artificial intelligence in a big way. Right now, they probably arguably make the fastest and most powerful CPUs. They're doing better than Intel when it comes to that. When it comes to gaming CPUs, they're actually arguably making more efficient and more powerful gaming CPUs. The only thing is, Intel's better at, hardware compatibility and firmware updates. Intel, in my opinion, is better at that. AMD, they've always had issues with driver releases and everything. But that, people still like their product. They have extremely powerful CPUs and they have extremely powerful GPUs. It's just that NVIDIA is better and Intel is arguably better at what they do. But AMD is quickly catching up. As you can see right here, NVIDIA is planning to release the 4090 Ti. I'm not going to buy it. I will wait until the 5090 comes out and I'll buy that instead. But they're planning to possibly release the 4090 Ti if that actually happens. But right now, NVIDIA is second to none when it comes to graphic cards. Like their graphic cards along with Intel CPUs are pretty much monsters. Like they if you want a good gaming computer, like you can get a 14900K with a new motherboard, 65 gigabytes of RAM, and you're only paying like $800. It's like, it's like right now they're second to none. So you have NVIDIA, AMD, Micron. Those are, in my opinion, those are the big three. Now, some people might also add in Taiwan Semiconductors, or they might add in ASML. Yeah, that's all fine and good. But the thing about it is these chips and this AI, you have no idea how powerful these combinations are going to be. You have no idea what new cars are going to be like when they're putting this artificial intelligence shit in these cars. So what I'm telling you is that this is where you're supposed to be putting your money. You're not supposed to be buying jewelry. You're not supposed to be buying Dogecoin. You need to get in on this, especially they're paying you a dividend. You can't argue with that. They're paying you a dividend. This is where you need to be putting your money. You have no idea where they're going in the next 5 to 10 years. But what they are showing you is that they're making some serious shit right now, and they're only getting better at it. So this is what you should be doing. Listen, you can do whatever you want. You're a man. You can take your money. You could spend it on hooker and beer. I don't really care. It's up to you. But I'm telling you, unless you want to be working yourself to death and not have any money coming in, you only get your paycheck, that's it. Because it's not about just getting a paycheck. You need to be getting phantom income. You need to be getting residuals. You need to be getting royalties. I get royalties from YouTube. It's like I'm taking that YouTube money and I'm turning that shit into dividend-paying stock. Now, some of y'all don't understand that, but I'm trying to explain it. Because some of y'all would take that money, y'all put it into XRP or Dogecoin or whatever. Yeah, they're doing real great right now. Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you've got to have a plan for your money, because the thing about it is our government only got one plan for your money. They're going to spend it all, or they're going to send it to Israel and Ukraine.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
To be continued.